We're waiting for that final launch director go for launch in just a few seconds.
Launch director, go for launch.
We have that final go from the launch director. All systems are go. Let's listen in to the terminal count and watch as Falcon 9 takes our 49 Starlink satellites to orbit.
T-minus 30 seconds. T-minus 15 seconds. 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, 0. Ignition and liftoff.
Vehicle is pitching downrange.
Stage 1 chamber pressure is nominal.
Falcon 9 has successfully lifted off from Launch Complex 39A at Kennedy Space Center, carrying our stack of 49 Starlink satellites to orbit. Moments ago, we throttled the engines down
Telemetry nominal.
in preparation for Max Q, or maximum aerodynamic pressure, which will happen here in just a few seconds at T plus 1 minute and 12 seconds.
Falcon is supersonic. Max Q.
We have just passed through Max Q, and this is the maximum aerodynamic pressure that the stage sees. Next, we'll have 3 events happening in quick succession. First, we'll have main engine cutoff, followed by stage separation, and then second engine startup 1. Now, first, main engine cutoff is where all 9 of those M1D engines on that first stage will shut off to slow the vehicle down in preparation for stage separation. This is where the first
engine chill has begun.
This is where the first and second stages will separate, with the first stage starting to make its way back to Earth for landing, while the second stage continues on its journey to the third event of second engine startup 1. And this is where that single MVAC engine on the second stage will light up and propel the second stage along with the Starlink satellites to orbit. We're a little under 30 seconds away from these 3 events. And you'll want to watch out for fairing deploy, which is going to happen shortly after that. Hopefully we get cool live views from the second stage camera of those fairing halves popping off.
Nico.
Stage separation confirmed.
Ignition.
Wow, beautiful views from the first stage and second stage tracker
Stages
there.
are on nominal trajectories.
We did have successful MECO stage separation. There's fairing deployment there. Again, what a cool view from the second stage. Again, we did just have confirmation of successful fairing deployment. Again, SpaceX has reflown the Falcon fairing halves since November of 2019. Again, this was our second flight for both of those, and we will be attempting to recover them on our recovery vessel, Doug. It looks like you can just maybe make out those fairing halves in that live view from the ground as they are flying away from the second stage there. It looks like that's the first stage, maybe also floating off to the left. Now, as stage 2 heads towards its targeted drop-off orbit there, stage 1 will execute 2 burns in order to make its way back home to Earth. The first is an entry burn. Now this is where 3 of the M1D engines will reignite, and this helps to slow the stage down as it re-enters the upper parts of the Earth's atmosphere. Now the second burn, of course, is the landing burn, and this is a single engine burn that brings the vehicle speed down rapidly in order to land on the drone ship.
Acquisition signal.
If you're just catching up with us, we had a successful launch of Falcon 9 from Launch Complex 39A at Kennedy Space Center, and you're looking at a live view from Falcon 9's second stage as it is delivering our Starlink payloads to orbit. Stage 1 is currently making its way back to our drone ship, A Shortfall of Gravitas, in the Atlantic Ocean. We had beautiful views from the ground of the first and second stage plumes there just a little while ago. Now the Merlins on the first stage are optimized for sea level, so these achieve 190,000 pounds of thrust during ascent and descent. And in contrast, the MVAC engine, which you see on your screen right now, is optimized for 220,500 pounds of thrust in vacuum. Now the primary difference between these two engines is just the size of the nozzle. The MVAC nozzle is a lot larger than the M1D nozzles on first stage. Now the Falcon 9 is equipped with 4 hypersonic titanium grid fins positioned near the top of the first stage. And the first stage is using these grid fins to help navigate and reorient itself as it heads back home to Earth. The first stage also has an attitude control system, which you can sometimes see puffs of nitrogen gas coming from. And this attitude control system also helps that first stage orient itself as it returns home. We're just about 20 seconds from the start of our stage 1 entry burn, and this is a 20-second burn, and it'll help slow the vehicle down as it enters the thicker parts of the Earth's atmosphere. And this is a 3-engine burn, and it is 3 engines in a row on the first stage.
Stage 1 FTS is safe.
Stage 1 entry burn startup.
There's the start of the entry burn on the first stage. You can see those grid fins as the first stage is flying through its own plume there.
Stage 2 FTS is safe.
Stage 1 entry burn shutdown.
We did just have a successful stage 1 entry burn there. And for those who follow along, you'll know that the soot on the rocket...
Trajectory nominal.
Second stage trajectory is still nominal. As I was saying, the soot on the rocket indicates that it's been flown before. So the fuel that we use on Falcon 9 is rocket-grade kerosene, or RP1, which is carbon-based. So when it burns, it generates soot. Now, as the booster approaches the landing site and does that long re-entry burn that we saw it fly through its own plume, which deposits that soot back onto the first stage. Now you can see this sometimes on the pad. The soot is still stuck onto the first stage from its previous flights. And if you watch closely to your onboard camera during landing, you might be able to see soot sticking on the lens of those cameras as well. Now coming up in just a few seconds, we will have the start of our stage 1 landing burn. This will be another about 20-second burn. Hopefully will land us on our drone ship, A Shortfall of Gravitas.
Stage 2 terminal guidance.
In the Atlantic Ocean.
Stage 1 startup.
Here's the start of our stage 1 landing burn. Cool views of the drone ship approaching.
Stage 1 landing leg deploy.
drone
Get back
ship.
in the ship now.
We did just have the 103rd overall successful recovery of our first stage orbital
Nominal
class
orbit
rocket.
insertion.
And we just missed it there, but we did have a successful second engine cutoff, and we just got that confirmation of a good orbit from stage 2. Now, next up, we'll have one more burn on the second stage that will position the vehicle for payload deployment.
Expected loss of signal, Cape.
But we are awaiting the deployment of our 49 Starlink
Expected loss
satellites,
of signal, Bermuda.
which is scheduled to occur about 6 minutes from now at T plus 15 minutes. However, you may have just heard the call out for expected loss of signal. Again, this means we won't have live audio or visual confirmation of payload deployment due to lack of ground station coverage, but we will acquire signal with our ground station in Kodiak, Alaska at T plus 1 hour and 20 minutes. So for those of you who are interested, we will keep the audio-only countdown nets up on our YouTube channel, and we'll confirm successful payload deployment on our social media channels. But with that, that brings tonight's webcast to a close. Thank you to the Range and Federal Aviation Administration for supporting tonight's mission, to all of our viewers, as well as our Starlink customers. Starlink is live in Slovakia and Slovenia, and that means we are now live in 27 countries and regions around the world. To learn more about Starlink or to find out if service is available in your area, head over to starlink.com. Be good to one another. Thanks for joining us. Have a great evening, and as always, see you next time.